going to cross into a state that none of us have ever been to. I've been to California before, but never to the state of Oregon. So I'll bet this is probably maybe coming up on.
Tell us.
We've already passed the black line.
We may be in Oregon. We may not.
Let's see.
Oregon Redwoods Trail, next right.
You know what? I'm going to say that this creek is the border. Welcome to Redwood. Oh, crap. Oregon. Wait, maybe this is the sign. It's a watercraft sign. It's a way station. We really don't know where the border. It's an ephemeral thing. It floats around, and the border could be at any given place at any given time. So, welcome to Harbor, Oregon.
That was a little anticlimactic.
That was of all of our state border crossings, I'm gonna go with that one was the biggest train wreck.
We probably need a do-over on that one.
Well,
we need better signs. We need to file a complaint.
So, Oregon, what we're going to need you to do, we're going to need you to put up a better sign. Because, man, that was a total letdown. You need like a, you go into Colorado and you're entering welcome to colorful Colorado every single time. Yeah. You come into Oregon, it's like, you might be here, you might not. We don't know.
All they care about is their tsunami signs.
Yeah, we got lots of tsunami signs. So now, in the event that a tsunami was imminent, we probably, we wouldn't care so much about the whole what state are you in kind of thing. We just really want altitude. So.
So we need to play a little catch up. We have been crazy busy and have not had just a ton of reception. So we haven't been able to produce those videos like we've been wanting to. So we're gonna play a little catch up, get back to where we are now.
Yep.
And then we can kind of start fresh from there. So
we have a bunch of stuff that we want to cover and share with you because we've seen some amazing things. And I'll be honest, we're probably going to break this video up into at least 2 videos, maybe 3, because it's a lot of stuff. And this last portion was amazing. And I think it could be its own video all by itself. So, but let's get started with what's been going on in the life in the dash.
Yeah.
Did you see how I did that?
Let's see how you did that.
That's pretty clever, huh?
I think when we left off, we had just finished up in Oregon.
Yep.
Oregon. So we
just finished up with the Redwood Forest.
The Redwood Forest, yeah. So Northern California, actually.
Yes.
The Redwood Forest in Northern California. And from there, we went into Oregon.
Absolutely. Yep. To Tillamook, Oregon, which was a really cool place.
Well, you're skipping Florence.
Oh, see? This is why we have notes. Yes.
Well, it's so easy. It all runs together. It's hard to remember. You think you'll never forget, and it's so hard to remember. We were talking the other day about the different animals that we've seen on this trip so far, and somebody mentioned elk, and someone else asked the question, when did we see elk? On day 2, a long time ago during this trip, and it was just easy to forget. So we went from the Redwoods to Florence, Oregon, and we sort of just needed, it was one of those situations where we've been driving, and we needed a place to stay, and we found a little RV park. We had no clue. There were sand dunes. We were right there on the sand dunes, and we didn't even know about this. We don't, drive dune buggies. That's not a world we're aware of, but it was amazing to walk right out of the RV park and walk out on those sand dunes and see the sunset and just experience it. They just went on and on and on.
We've been to Great Sand Dunes National Monument in Colorado, and so we've climbed on dunes. These were made of talcum powder. It gave me a new appreciation for, number one, how hard it is to move through sand like that, and number 2, how easy it would be to get lost. The winds were blowing at gale force. I mean, they were howling, and your footsteps were gone within
Right.
2 or 3 minutes of you having traveled over a space. So it was really impressive being out there.
It was. And, you know, I went out one night with the kids. I think you were doing laundry because, you know, have to do chores too.
Yes.
And I went out with the kids to watch the sunset. And then you went back out with Ella and y'all did some stargazing out on the sand dunes.
That was amazing because the sky was so dark and the stars were so vivid. We took her telescope out, and it was a neat experience. It was neat being out there and feeling like you were deep in remote nature.
Yeah. So that was neat. That was a neat stop. We stayed there a couple of nights, got some laundry done, got some rest, a little bit of rest,
Yes.
and then from there we headed to Tillamook. So that's when we hit Tillamook, and we had really been looking forward to, some of us more than others. I think Ella was so excited about cheese she couldn't sleep, but
I was excited about ice cream.
yes,
So
yes, we were all excited about the food. So we went over into Tillamook, and it was a neat experience. We toured the
Tillamook Cheese Factory.
the creamery there. Yeah,
Actually, yes, I guess that's a better way
they
of
make
saying it.
cheese at that particular one, but they sell ice
But they
cream,
sell
so
ice
you
cream.
can have ice cream at the Tillamook Creamery.
They do have free samples of cheese, but they sell the ice
Sell the
cream.
ice
So
cream.
yes.
But it was all
It was so
very
good.
yummy. It was
Absolutely.
yummy.
Yep.
James is a bit of a traitor now. He's decided maybe he likes Tillamook better than Bluebell. So I don't know.
It was
I don't
awful
know.
good.
We'll have to have a taste test, side by side.
It was
when
really
we get
good.
back. We can't
Yeah.
get Bluebell here.
No.
So
It's just wrong. Just so wrong. Yeah. Both Terry and I have notes because there's just so many things that we're trying to keep up with. And one of the things I also wanted to mention about Tillamook was the Air Museum that we went to there.
That was fun.
The Air Museum, we didn't know anything about it. As you're driving into Tillamook, you see this huge hangar off to the northeast, and airplane hangar. Or you think it's an airplane hangar. It was a hot air balloon hangar, and they could stage 8 of these blimps inside this hangar, and these were used. This was all set up during World War II, and it was amazing to see the different airplanes that they had on display and the different blimps that they had. All of the different displays that were set up. I mean, thousands of displays of set up that showed all the different artillery and tanks and planes and boats and where battles occurred. And I mean, that was truly incredible. One of the really cool things that we saw there also, they had one of the F-14 Tomcats that was used in the movie Top Gun. And there was actually a neat story behind that plane as well, the particular one that was there at the museum. It had a run-in with a Russian MiG and had actually snuck up behind them. And the whole story is there. And so that was really neat. But it was one of 4 surviving. There are very few surviving F-14s that were used in the movie. The rest have all been decommissioned and disassembled. But this is one of the very few that are still there. So that was neat.
Yeah, and you could actually sit in the cockpit. They had like sample cockpits and stuff, and you could sit and see all the controls. And it was amazing to think how much information these guys were having to take in at once. Just what all they were having to attend to while fighting for their lives. I mean, it was really amazing.
Yep.
And it was one of those places we didn't even know it was there. We hadn't read about it. We just pulled into town and we saw this museum and thought, let's go in there.
Let's take a
and
look.
Those are some of the most fun places sometimes. They're unexpected and they're just like these little gems that you find. Gems are pretty awesome to find.
We call those our happy little accidents.
Happy little accidents.
And they are some of our neatest adventures. So while we were in Tillamook, we dispersed camp, and dispersed camping we have found to be more of a challenge than we anticipated. Now, I'll be honest, now as we're traveling up through the North Country, there is quite a bit of it. But during that time in California and Oregon and Washington, it was tough.
Well, it would have been better if we could get away from the coast a little bit,
Yes.
but it was hot.
Yes.
If you get away from the coast at all, it's hot.
Yep.
So
These mosquitoes are tough.
they're terrible.
Woo, my lands.
Not as bad as they could be. but
Not
they're
as bad as
terrible.
they could be. Good point. Mozzies.
Mozzies,
Mosies.
or something.
Yeah.
We just call them skeeters.
Blood-sucking devils. That's what I call them. Spawn of Satan.
Yes.
So in this particular camp, we checked one place and it didn't work out, so we just started up a road. And when I say we started up a road, we went up a road. At one point, we turned around and did not wind up camping in this place, but at one point we were gaining 1,000 feet of elevation a mile, and that is the steepest road that I've ever driven a trailer up. I can tell you I was glad that the Jeep Grand Cherokee had all-wheel drive, because even then the tires were slipping as we were pulling up. So we found a place to turn around. We found a lower elevation, and you know, it started off, this isn't the prettiest camp, but it actually wound up being a really good place for us.
Well, it was fun, and we were out by ourselves, so we actually kind of played some music and just had fun, you know, singing and dancing and embarrassing the kids.
Absolutely.
And, you know, but it was fun, and that's the joy of dispersed camping, I think, is you just kind of by yourself a little bit, and you can not worry that your generator is going to bother the neighbor or whatever. So there are definitely, it's quieter. There are definitely some benefits to it, and definitely some challenges. So,
where were we next?
Ranier.
Oh my
So
goodness.
then we went the opposite. We had been on the coast, and the coast is amazing.
The coast is beautiful.
The West Coast, it just, the rocks and the waves,
you know,
and
we've talked about how much time we've spent on the Gulf Coast of Texas and Florida, and how we love that beach and that beach environment. This was unlike anything we'd ever seen. Sea caves and arches and rocks out in the water, like big, like haystack rocks.
you could just climb
Absolutely.
on them. And
Never seen anything like that before. Seen pictures, but never actually seen anything like that. And it was beautiful and amazing and freaking freezing. We're not used to being cold at the beach, but it was cooler than we were used to. But it was absolutely gorgeous.
yeah, parts of the beach were colder than what we were experiencing further north, but it was amazing, and we loved our time there, and there's a peacefulness about it.
Yeah.
But then you go from this one amazing thing, and then you drive up on Ranier, which just sprouts up in the middle of nowhere. It seems like nothing around it is that tall, and it just, you can't help but just take a million pictures and just stare at it, and it was beautiful.
The way we approached it, the direction we came in from, we never could see it until we were right in front of it. We were always in thick trees. It was cloudy, and so when it opened up, you think you're looking at the mountain, and then you realize, oh, I need to be looking up there.
Right.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
It was, and even the hike, we did go on a hike in Ranier, and it was, you know, we're hiking, and it was beautiful. It's so pretty. And, you know, you just don't really have your bearings around you of where the actual mountain is, and so it was cloudy the whole time we were hiking up, and we hiked and hiked and hiked, and we got up this beautiful spot, and we thought, you know, I think we might get a clearing here. And so we kind of sat and waited, and we did, and it opened up, and you were thinking, for me, I thought, my gosh, that was in front of me the whole time, and
Absolutely.
I had no idea that's where I was hiking. And so hiking back down, it was clear all the way back down, and I just kept turning around to look, thinking that it was kind of cool that we didn't know that's what we were headed towards, and then it was just sort of right there.
Absolutely. Every time the clouds would move in, and you'd kind of look back, and it's cloudy, okay, and then it would open up again, and it was shocking every single time how much it towered above everything else.
It was really an amazing experience. We wish we could have spent some more time there.
Yeah.
We were unfortunately
A bit pressed for time.
A bit pressed for time at that point. We had a reservation that we had to make, and so I think we would have stayed a couple more days. And it was just a neat environment.
It was.
After we hiked that day, we went down into the little town. I don't remember the name of the little town right there by it, but there was a little pizza place, and it
was it Ranier Base Camp?
Yes, it was.
Where we had pizza, and they had picnic tables set up and big fire pits set up, and folks were coming down that had summited the mountain.
Yeah.
And it was just a neat environment.
It was kind of a celebratory environment, you know?
And the pizza was really good, so long as you were really hungry.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
It just wasn't the best we've ever had.
Right.
But you know what?
As you're eating it, having hiked all day and probably having come off the summit of Ranier, you're like, this is the greatest pizza ever. The next day, as leftovers, it's like, it's Pizza.
But the atmosphere was awesome
Yeah.
because everybody was so laid back and just relaxed, and you know, you could visit with people, and like I said, it was kind of celebratory as people were coming down and people were giving them high fives.
Yep,
And you did it, and that was
absolutely.
kind of neat to see. So that was a fun.
That was cool.
Ranier was a fun experience.
Yeah. A special thanks to our partners. None of this would be possible without your help.